Hey, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? Oh, back with part two of egalitarianism. Shit. Yeah, I had to turn my gain up. God damn. Y'all give me a second. Let me get my shit right. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, let me fix this real quick. Political world systems done. Okay. Oh. He's just always talking about rap music. Let's see what I'm gonna put in. Yeah, let me get something real quick. Okay. Um, let's see, crazy things. Yeah, Velosphere. All right. Guess I'm here. I know people don't want me to read on certain things. Egalitarianism, part two, and just started, but just back with the information, just coming with y'all. It's been a while, so we talk about equality again. It is what it is. What's going on, Psycho Candy? What's going on? All right. Let's get it on the road, y'all. Let's see. The same one. I think we stop right here. The byproduct of ejection of equality. We're gonna go here real quick because I know people are just just getting in here. Okay, I'll take myself out the screen. Read this off to y'all. Okay, firstly, I want to say the byproduct of ejection of equality. Let me see. I want to say it like this. Firstly, egalitarian view of equality is the central aim or one of the most important aims of justice and should not be seen more by byproduct have been a mere a mere point of criticism on the pre-orientation predatory side. Yeah, the predatory side, the prioritarian side was Raz 1986 218 to 221, pages 227 to 229. Frankfurt 1987, page 32 to 34, 1997 to 7 and 11. Profited 1998, pages 13 and 15. They think the equality uh, is a more byproduct, and it is due to absolute standards like human dignity or respect. And I'll say like this. Let me read this and so forth. Let me get up close. It's further away. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me get up close. It's further away. I didn't want to read further away from that. Okay. The Praetorians argue that this case of the hunger and illness of deficiencies of the goods of they should be helped because of hunger, illness, and deficiencies of goods. Terrible circumstances for every human being. Not because other people are in better conditions. The hunger and illness of other people of deficiencies of goods indirectly puts us in the situations to help these people without making any comparisons between them and those who are better off. Frankfurt says that the substantial and not formal definitions certainly have a genuine moral importance. Then it depends on human beings who lived a good life, not on how their life is with regard to other human beings' lives. Frankfurt, 1997, page 6. It is the case of illness and hunger and deficiencies. Yeah, hunger and deficiency of goods and the role of equality is not as simple as Praetorians want to make other people believe, but their objection loves its power. If one acknowledged that people in cases illness, hunger, or deficiencies of goods should be treated equally as humans beings if they are supplies, that means there is no primarily discrimination, ongoing equality. Has many faces impartially is one of it. There is room for proportional equality in cases of instance deficiencies of goods. This is no contradiction within the egalitarian view. Proportional equality is a part of equality. The idea equality always means uh, arithmetical equality is not justified. And we're going to read this. Hold on. The second example is part of this leveling down objection. Prophets 1998 chapter 4, given the inequalities as such as are bad, but their disappearance would be in one of respect. Change to something which is better. If, says Parfit, the better of people lose all their additional resources by natural disaster, and thus are in the same terrible situations than other people. It will be something, but that the telo telo yeah teleological egalitarians may welcome, though some people lost all their additional resources in any and nobody else could profit, or in the famous example given by a prophet. Similarly, and it would be in to make the sighted blinded, but the implications can be more plausible, regarded as monstrous or absurd. Prophet 1998, chapter 4. Prophet knows that this would be enough to criticize the egalitarians by using this objection. It is not enough to chain that could be wrong to produce equality by leveling down. Therefore, he states our objections. It must be that. But if achieved equally by leveling everyone equally badly off, that is not of any way of good news. Prophet 1998, chapter 4. It seems equality for those solely equality. Plain egalitarians claim that the inequalities are justified if the only means that the removal inequality will be to level down to the better off people to standard of badly off people without any improvement with regards to the badly off people, but the destructions of advantage in the name of justice. It is also unacceptable on the egalitarian view, but there is a lot of rhetoric in this kind of objection. Prophet, it makes the distinction between the theological and yeah, denitric egalitarian in this passage. And it's only the theological egalitarianism and Prophet's view that is open for criticism. But the denitric egalitarian, unlike the theological egalitarian, has no problem with the view of inequality itself. It is not a bad way, but it says Prophet, and we may find it harder to justify some of the beliefs and the Dionytic view. And um, the second egalitarianism should be incorporated theological and Dionytic aspects. Okay, so we're gonna read part B of inhumanity right up in here. So let's see who's in here. Let's go on degenerate. Salute, salute, salute. I know everybody's busy on this part. So I know everybody's busy. I already did my part. I know people are busy. The objections of inhumanity, which has been brought into discussion by Anderson in 1999, is one of the main arguments against egalitarianism. Anderson's version of the argument has time in different parts. Firstly, the fault is up to them, two objections. Anderson 1999, 295 to 302. Also buried 1991 and 149 McLeod in 1998, page 75. Secondly, by the ejection of the stigmatized in Anderson 1999, page 302, 307. McLeod 1998, 106, pages 108. And thirdly, the tutelage objection, Anderson 1999, third 110, also Hayek 1960, page 85 to 102. Okay, the objection of humanity, of course. The fault is up to them objection. First part of the objection against supposed egalitarian view that people who are responsible for their own terrible situations should be left with their problems, no matter what happens to them. The second part is an objection against the kind of reasons of egalitarian have in order to help people who are in terrible situations which did not arise through their own fault. But the third part is an objection against the decision making of the state, which is category a misery should be placed in investigation of citizens. And to get the relevant information for the state, this would be the Anderson's view. In a case of putting a citizens under the tutelage of the state and harming their private sphere. Proponents of lack egalitarian wanted to equalize understanding the life prospects of the people should be responsible for their decisions. That means, strictly speaking, they have no justified demands for supply. If they get into the miserable situations, their own fault. Anderson criticized, who's this right here? Criticizes Rokowski's view in 1991, who states that it should have should would be all right if they led to guilty or car driver um, die in a hospital who has no servants and illegally making a turnover over the street, which causes serious accident. But the guilty car driver, so Rokowski, has no demands to kept an artificial uh, respiration. Damn, I can't even see where to look. Respirations appearance of any longer others and argues that society should be help people no matter whether they cause their own disaster or not. They have human beings, but this is the best reason to give them helping hand. If they lost their right track, this may be seen as a true milestone of the development in human history to be a part of the real community means and to help those needy people. What about the idea of humanity? Clarity. The idea to show compassion with members of one's own community? Or is it with the conception of the benefices to neglect to help peoples seems to inappropriate for the community, which is devoted to the idea of human flourishing, but the basic concept of each sound community. Let's see right here. People who live in a jet set life should not have legal demand to live such a life again. If they cause a disaster, lost everything, and the only way to better off again would be let a society pay for it. This demand seems unsounded, but they should live a human being worthy life, and society has to pay for it, no matter what the price is. And this is the second does not contradict with the sophisticated version of the pluralistic egalitarian on this point. Anderson cites, um, let's see here. Anderson cites Arneson, who thinks that it might be unfair to make people responsible for their actions in all circumstances, and responsible will self confidence was partly due to the genes or the luck to have good parents. Therefore, those people have been demand on a special per, parentalistic protection by society, with the regards with regard to their own head decisions. Artisans thinks that this could be financed by the obligatory society of the compassionate. Compensation of welfare. My fault. Compensation of welfare should be also modified by parentalistic intervention. That means only parentalistic reasons could make social contributions obligo- uh, obligatory, and it could justify the distribution of monthly and guaranteed income. Anderson disputes that the fact that the lack of egalitarian shows that the necessary respects for citizens, since they state that the people who people who had hard luck by virtue, their own, okay, their own fault, and earn it seems to be the wrong path, which criticize other egalitarians who want help. Other to justify obligatory social insurances are, in her opinion, a sign of taking citizens to be silly. for citizens not to lose their self esteem by accepting this kind of justification. Any Amy Gutterman criticized Anderson's on 2 points. Firstly, she states that the even egalitarians should be able to argue that there are special cases, like the guilty car driver case, which is are so badly that these people should be helped, even if they get into the miserable situation on their own fault. Must be humiliating for the state to make laws. Yeah. For instance, on wearing safety belts, and so forth, insofar that she states on the first point that very idea of the guaranteed special kind of goods would contradict with the spirit of the luck of egalitarianism. It might be that this line of argument speaks against the luck of egalitarianism, but not against a sophisticated version of pluralistic egalitarianism. But the safety belt case, so Anderson, it is not a good example for restricting citizens' liberty with regard to cases in which their liberty is restricted to a great amount. Like in cases of cohesive partaking of social insurance, the society justification should be much stronger than the claim that society knows citizens' interests better than they do. There should be no problem for citizens to take part in social insurance when it's reasonable for them, under the veil of ignorance, to take a Rawls famous thought of experiment. Mm. Everybody would be agreed to social if the advantages, for instance, not to die in the hospital and having no insurance at all, but the rule of a disadvantage of the cohesive partaking. It seems right that just a people would like to live society where people have to die because they have not got a social insurance for whatever reasons. And if the price for it to take to be a part of the social insurance, even if it's a liability, should not hesitate to do so. But if a person decides to not take part and she is guilty car driver, she should be helped no matter what the causes are. This is due to human dignity. There's no sound counter argument why pluralistic egalitarians should not be able to integrate this idea in their conception without losing their track. There is, of course, a practical necessity for every society not to pay for everyone. The social insurance of the state could only finance a limited number of people who do not have. For whatever reasons, social insurance hence should be everybody's interest in order to relieve society of high extra costs. To pay for one's own social insurance, therefore, it is the society's interest, and this means to end in the interest of everybody. To force people by law have their own social insurance, in this case, nothing speaks against being forced to one's own luck. Okay. My sockets is dry. I'm getting old. All right. The ejection stigmatizing. Let's see how much of a read I'm gonna get into. It's a long read. When it gets to the references and reading, I'm gonna skip that. Pluralistic egalitarianism. We'll see how much. Yeah, we're gonna go ejection complexity. It's a long read. See how much. We'll see how much time I got. Greetings, Shar. Greetings, greetings. Greetings. I am listening. Yeah, I got 25 minutes. Good, 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 good. Because it's a long read. I know people want to get through with this. Oh, I got time. I got time. Yeah, I can read this whole thing. Go. All right. The ejections of stigmatizing is an ejection against the kind of reasoning egalitarians have in order to help people who are in terrible situations, which did not arise through their own fault. Bad brute luck. For instance, disabled people from birth or people who become disabled by virtue of the illnesses or accident, or people with very poor natural talents. So forth. Anderson uh thinks the firstly that there is no case for badly people off for all badly off people. If one looks at the rules which lay down who belongs to the bad brute luck people, and secondly, the reasons to help the badly luck people are discriminating for them. The reasons they offer, yeah, okay, I'm reading right. Okay, who badly and brute people. Secondly, as he said, and secondly, and the reasons to help badly brute people are discriminating for them. But the reasons offered to distribute, okay, extra resources to handicapped people. So Anderson, on the egalitarian view, are wrong because people, by claim to the resources of egalitarian redistribution, in the virtue of their inferiority to others, not in the virtue of their equality to others. Anderson, 1999, through page 306. The principles of distributions are based on pity, which is the her view, incompatible with the respect for human dignity. Her main questions is whether a theory or justice, which is based on the consumptuous pity for alleged beneficiaries, could serve egalitarian standards, but the equality respect of each human being in the basis of justice. She comes to conclusions that lack of egalitarianism discards these basic requirements which every sound egalitarian theory should have. Stigmatizing, right? One might argue to do the concern of equality of fortune theorists is based on humanitarian compassion and not of the contemptuous pity. But but even then, so Anderson one has to keep the distinctions between the two notions in the mind, compassion, and based on an awareness and suffering an intrinsic condition of a person. But pity, by contrast, is around by a comparison of the observed of condition. So, with the condition of its pity, Anderson, page 1999. 1999, page 306. And Anderson's view of the compassion says that there are questions and badly off and pity, and the person's in the view then we're off. So yeah, I'll see this real quick. Argue theorist keeps his distance and compassion and awareness based suffering intrinsic. Okay. Pity, by contrast, but is around by compassion of observers of condition and condition of deject. Okay. Okay. Badly off. Pity by the persons and the questions is wrong. Other than oneself. She is sadly inferior to me. Both can move one of the help others who are in need. The only pity is condescending, but even for the sale, the argument it takes humanitarian compassions as a stating point, as a starting point. This could be no sounding and basis for egalitarian principles of distributions because the compassion aims a relieving suffering and not equalizing it. She states, according to Raz 1986, page 242, that are the once people are relieved of their suffering and needless to compassions could not guarantee a further need of equality of conditions, but the equality of fortune does not expression express compassion. It is not what the absolute misery of the person is questioned. It is about the gap between the best off and the worst off people, but the better off people who are guided by the considerations of the luck egalitarians have a certain kind of feeling of superiority towards people who are in need and vice versa. The badly off people are evolves and seek for an equal distributions of resources. Their criteria is an envy free distribution. Anderson, 1999, 306, page 306. I mean, this may have some plausible on the first sight, but the second glance shows that she mixed up the two aspects, which should be sharply divided. The factum of equality, but the feeling of inferiority in the detail in her claim that may pity the incapable with human dignity is unsound. And the only reason why this claim seems to be justified is her notion of pity is a certain kind of Anderson. And the definition of pity rests on her assumptions that the pity is something that is due to the compassion between the condition of the people involved and the feeling of those people who help others who are in need. But there is the necessity that those who help others who are in need have a certain kind of feeling like she is really inferior to me. It might be that some people feel like that, but most people would refuse this kind of talk. This says that one has to help others who are in need because they are human beings equal to me. Equal to me. Oh shit. Oh man, they make this shit so small. I can't even see this shit. Equal to me or some shit. If one might argue, would not left alone either Anderson's definitions incapable of human dignity, but there are other definitions. But Anderson, one agrees humanitarian compassion and start of uh, egalitarian distribution would be not enough. That the compassion aims to relieve suffering, not to equalize. And according to the compass view, there is no moral judgment on the who suffer. Anderson's 1999 307 page. There's no further distribution. It's the sight of suffering of the people has for certain kind of feeling. She's like an inferior to me. And secondly, if a disabled person and disabled people are cured, there's no further reason to give them extra resources. They are in good, healthy, and condition again. Anderson's main point is the lack of egalitarianism claim that disabled people get extra resources to by virtue of their inferiority and not the virtue of their equality to other people. One has to differentiate between the improper special feeling, a certain kind of feeling who help others are in need. She is inferiority to me in their motivations to help to the needy people, and then the true reasons Why, for instance, disabled people should be treated equally differently. At the same time, differently because they get extra resources according to proportional equality. Equally because they are human beings, and should be treated morally equal according to arithmetical equality. All versions of egalitarianism have one main aspects in common and may be that of Anderson's overlooks the important aspects in her talk about what the reasons are to help people who are in need. Okay, the tutelage objection. Let's see how much time we got. See how much time we got. Yeah, 35 minutes. Okay, good. Got time. I'll make this interesting for y'all because I got more to read on the way. The tutelage objection is against the decision making of the state, which category a misery should be placed, and the investigation of the citizens in order to get relevant information for the state's decisions. This should be the Anderson's view, a case of putting citizens under the tutelage of the state, harming their private sphere. Anderson, 1999, page 310. Also, Hayek, 1960, pages 85 to 102, The Equality of Fortune. So Anderson says that no one should suffer from undeserved misfortune. Anderson, 1999, page 310, page 310. But in order to determine which people are allowed to the special treatment, extra resources, the state must make judgments on the people's moral responsibility concerning their situations to brute or option luck. I'll say option luck in citing Hayek, 1960, pages 95 to 97, who states that if in order to lay a claim to some important benefit, people are forced to obey the other people's judgments of what uses they should have made of their opportunities rather than following their own judgments. Anderson, 1999, page 310. Anderson concludes that such a system would require the state to make grossly intrusive, moralizing judgments of individuals' choices. Anderson, 1999, page 310. Hence, equality for the fortune contradicts with the citizen's privacy liberty. This is Korsgaard's view, 1993, to page 61, which Anderson is affirmatively referring to a disrespectful behavior of the state. But it's disrespectful for the state is pass judgment on how much people are responsible for their expensive tastes or their imprudent choices. Anderson, 1999, 310. Okay. Okay. And her objection against the function of the state is to decide which people are morally responsible for their situations. According to the brute or option, luck seems plausible. For the sake of argument, let everybody agree on the point to help people who suffer from undeserved misfortune. The very question is them how the state could organize a system which treats everyone fairly. And with the respect, it is a practical necessity that the state decides which people get extra resources, finances by the social community. Should be no problem to say that. If that states in spending public money, someone has to prove the legitimacy of requests. Therefore, the state needs information, and this has nothing to do harming the people's liberty or private sphere. It is a hard thing to decide how far is the gathering information by the state and should go. Of course, no one would like to live in a state where Big Brother is watching you all the time. But one of the most the one of the most acknowledged must acknowledge to the simple fact that the state that takes precautions not to be deceived by social cheaters. If a person wants a public money, she should better have a sound reason. If not, she might be a cheater. It is not about expensive taste or imprudent choices. Cross Guard 1993, rather than it's about um, the questions of one suffers from undeserved misfortune or not. Anderson is right in stating that there are cases which could be very complex. For this reason, might undermine the system of distribution. Life is not simple, and one has to cope with the extreme cases, with those extreme cases. But the special problem always appears according to pre, prenumbra prenumbra of cases. The only way I was trying to make a well informed decisions, not to distribute extra resources to people who are in need by virtue of undeserved misfortune might be the wrong decision. So this is the tutelage objection. We're gonna read this part. Pluralistic, egalitarians. We're not gonna get into that. I that's just a long read, so I'm not gonna try to read this whole thing. That's I'm it on this link where y'all drop. Y'all can read that for yourself. You already know what that is. That's a whole nother subject if I want to do a part 3 on this. But you know what I'm saying. But I may not do a part 3 on egalitarianism, but I will get this part right here. The two egalitarian arguments. Okay. He said the main ones, equality arguments, is Berlin, 1955, 56. Tujahad, 1997. Gospath, 2001. The argument of pluralistic egalitarianism, Gordon, 2006. Oh, these are arguments. These are two arguments. Oh, okay. These are arguments. You know what? It's a long read. You know what? I'll take it. We'll see how much time I got. I may read that one. And I'll end it right there. And then I have another link for y'all. And I'm going to just let y'all expound on it. See, because I'm trying to get my mind focused because I know on some other things. But let's see what's going on here. Shit. I didn't mean to hit that. I didn't mean to hit that. I didn't mean to hit that, y'all. I hit that by mistake. Yeah. Yeah, it's Wednesday night. This is one of my streams I always do. But I will talk about fascism next week, so y'all check that out. I'm gonna find some links on those. See how much time I got, because I don't want to be that much. But you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Let me get in this right quick. I may do this. How much time I got? 43. Yeah. I'm gonna get this real quick. The egalitarians' assumptions of the presumption of equality. What about the egalitarians' assumptions of equality of Isaiah Berlin? Stated in his famous paper, Equality as an Ideal, 1955-56. The equality does not need any justification, but only inequality does. He gives the following example to make his assumption plausible. If someone has a cake, there are 10 people to be taken into account. Then there is no need of justification automatically. If every person is getting a 10th part, but if a distributor is not acting according to the principle of equal distribution, he has to give some special reason for his decision. Even if common sense justifies Berlin argument, one has taken into account that the equal distribution, in the example given by Berlin, has no moral advantage with regard to unequal distributions, although Frankfurt hold to the same view as Berlin does, that cake should be divided into equal parts. He gives a different justification concerning the distribution. The important point is so Frankfurt that the distributor is this example, has no special reasons to divide the cake in equal parts, nor to divide the cake is an unequal parts. In one word, he does not know whether the people should be treated equally concerning the special respects which could justify an equal distributions or vice versa. The distributor has no relevant information at all, but there are just a few philosophers who gives reasons why equality needs no justification. Others, as Berlin does, take it for granted or call for common sense intuitions. The famous German philosopher Ernest Tugendhat, 1997, claims that the only inequality needs to be special reasons. According to Tugendhat's, egalitarianism in the strict sense is not about the material equal distributions, but also about the simple fact that all people have equal moral rights, albeit their empirical differences. But the priorities think that there are good reasons and restrict equality and egalitarian prioritism are not to be the same level of sets. Egalitarians, unlike prioritarians, claims for a special proposition. Prioritarians, so Tugendhat, are not bound to a special proposition. Their accounts are unlimited concerning the variety of different comforting configuring that is a description of duties and right of certain moral community. Tugendhat, 1997, page 5. Let's see what he's talking about. Page 5, and hence the proprietarism claims not for okay. Ah, shit. Yeah, claims okay for claims for not for okay certain proposition. And page 11. This is the background according to Tugendhat's for having the justified belief that there is a certain presumption of equality in regards to inequality. Moral claim. Albert, this presumption is very thin, but is doubtless exists. 11. In moral detail regarding an inequality on equality distribution, one given always the reasons why distribution should not be equal. One is not able to concerning an equal distributions, pages 13 and 14, if one accepts Tugendhat's assumptions that primary equality is lastly due to the structure of moral justification. According to Tugendhat's 1997, moral justification means that it is an equal justification with the respect to all people. The only case of legitimate justification of equality is the case which could be justified with regards to all people. Page 18. Every just distribution has to be equal, unless one is taken to justify the reasoning concerning the equality distributions to all people, not to do the false understanding and of the priority or dark notions of reasons. One might come to the conclusion of this explication is sound, of course. Of these are the same accounts of a philosophers, like Kant's kingdom of ends, that moral rights of basic goods. Hold on. Let's read that again. Hold on. Let's read that again. He said the dark notions of reason expels in the course in the accounts of philosophers. Okay, they mentioned Kant's kingdom of ends, Bentham's, all of counsel one of Gier's principles of generic consistencies, O'Boyan's argument for the moral rights of basic goods. So they mentioned the utilitarian philosopher Jeremy Bentham right here, and then Kantianism of Kant. This is in that realm. See right there. They mentioned Bentham. I know y'all can't see it, but I'm just referencing. They mentioned him in there. Now this is getting good. But Tugendhat's accounts by virtue is several reasonings of particularly interesting in illuminating, firstly, the states that egalitarianism is about moral rights in the strict sense of notions. Secondly, by argues the egalitarianism and prioritism are not the same level. And thirdly, he holds the assumption that the primacy of equality is due to the structure of moral justification. That is the first argument, and it's called the egalitarian's assumption of presumption of equality. Okay. And here goes B, pluralistic egalitarianism. The extreme egalitarian view that equality in the special sense of comparative equality is the only aim of justice is wrongs. Justice is wrong. But the other extreme, prioritans view that the equality has nothing to do with justice is also wrong. The truth is somewhere in between. There are at least four different aspects which shows that justice, equality. I'll say right. Yeah. So equality, right? Okay. Wrong. The truth is in between. Okay. Y'all give me a second. Hold on. I don't want to lose my place. Okay, I don't want to lose my place. I don't want to lose my place for a minute. Okay, in between, there are at least four aspects which to justice equality, okay, closely connected with each other. Okay, firstly, according to prior to equality is important as a byproduct for fulfillment of absolute standards. For instance, human dignity, and secondly, relational and comparative equality is one aspect of the justice among others. One needed of relation equality is in order to yield a legal equality of chances or anti-discrimination laws. Thirdly, equality is indispensable in being a joint starting point with regard to political anatomy, social membership, or liberty of exchange, because absolute standards propose that people's life prospects are more or less than the same. Furthermore, equality is also a result of political anatomy insofar as there seems to exist a special cases according to within equal distributions right demand Norwegian public oil reserves. Okay, so we're gonna go there. It seems that the oppositions between philosophy, who are egalitarians, and philosophers who are egalitarians and philosophers who are prioritarians, according to Miller, 1990, is a false one, better by understood as a debate about whether one particular kind of equality, economic equality, say, should be pursued or not. Miller, 1997, page 222. He may be right in stating that there are two different kinds of viable equality, one connected with justice and the other standing independently. Miller, 1997, 200, page 224. He suggests so-called third way equality for the first kind of distribute in nature, in specific that benefits a certain kind of rights, for instance, should be distributed equally because it requires this. The second kind of equality is not this sense disruptive. Disturbtive. It does not specifically direct any distribution of rights and resources. Instead, it identifies social ideal, the ideal, a social in which people regard the treated one another and equals, in other words, of society. This is not a marked status. This is not a marked status division such as the ones you can place different people in a hierarchically ranked categories in different classes. For instance, we can call the secondly equality of status, or simply social equality, Miller, 1997, page 224. Miller seems right in saying that there are two different notions of equality are not closely enough separated in the debate. According to Nagel, 1979, chapter 3 and 6, everybody thinks that the moral equality or mutuous social equality, in Miller's words, is something all people acknowledge. But the crux is that the interpretation of diverge. For instance, with the regard of utilitarians, chapter 4, the position of individual rights, chapter 5, and egalitarians, chapter 6, a plausible social ethics. Nagel would be influenced by all three accounts. Chapter 7, Miller's assumption the social equality is something that is not a part of the justice seems premature. Tugahat seems right in stating that the egalitarianism is, in the strict sense, is about moral rights. Hence, social equality as such in one part of justice. If restricts a person's moral rights, one better give the reason why does not have her equality. Her equally. According to others, if one is not able to give a plain justification, one treats her unjustly. This has nothing to do with any kind of distribution, although Miller seems to have hold the claim that the moral rights could be disturbed. But some egalitarians cite that Aristotle, the famous propositions that firstly is just that the equal people get equal shares and unequal people get unequal shares. And secondly, it is just unjust that the equal people get unequal shares and unequal people get equal shares. And verse page 6, to back up their main hypotheses, that the presumption of equality and follows directly from Aristotle's account of formal equality. It is apparent that they did, but they not analyze the whole context of those propositions. But the argument of the presumption of equality should not be based this passage. Instead of the passage could be turned against the Prioritan view that the egalitarians are bound to form a result equality. Okay. I mean, this last part. Damn, it's like, oh shit. Okay, we're going. There's a slide right here. Okay. And the same equality will exist between the persons, between the things concerned, for as the latter that the things concerned are related, so are the former. If they're not equal, they will not have what is equal. But this is the origin of quarrels, complaints, when either equals have are awarded unequal shares or unequals equal shares. Further, this is plain from the fact that the awards should be according to merit. For all men agree that what is just the distribution must be according to merit in some sense, though they do not all specify the same sort of merit. But Democrats identified it with the status of freemen, of supports of oligarchy, with the wealth or with the noble birth, and supports of aristocracy with the excellence. Aristotle in advanced 6, page 6. Okay, in those pages. Okay. Aristotle states that there is also trouble if unequals and get equal shares. That means if equals get unequal shares or unequals get equal shares, but there is no chain to cite passage which says that all people should be treated equally presumptuously of equality. Rather, all people should be treated equally according to the special axia and named by political virtue. According to Aristotle's account of justice in the book 5 of the Nicomachean Ethics, one of his acknowledged that the fact that our proposition of equals should get equal shares is due to principle of proportional equality. Distribution justice should not be under the healing justice is the exchange. Aristotle. Okay, 5 and thousand something like in the page. Okay, where the principle of the arithmetical equality exists, which is about justice concerned with exchanges according to reciprocity and retributive justice. To put it in a nutshell, in the formal principle of equality, equals should get equal shares, or in different formal equal cases, should be treated equally. It is empty to prioritarians on the one hand, are right is saying that egalitarians are wrong in their assumption that the presumption of equality is due to this formal principle. Aristotle's approach to fill in his account of proportional equality. On the other hand, there is hardly any sound argument with the respects of the debate. Okay. Between the egalitarians and prioritarians, and they would claim for this special proposition, the egalitarians are restricted result of equality, are not able to proportional equality within the sophisticated version of pluralistic egalitarianism. Gospeth 2004. Some prioritarians forget in the simple point that there are two ways of taking other people's conditions into account. Firstly, by proportional equality, and secondly, by stipulating the absolute standards of justice. All right, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Shit. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I got two parts and I'm done. Okay, equality as the only aim of justice or as a mere byproduct of justice is unhappy. Distinctions to the following justice cannot be reduced equality alone. And the importance of equality is too great to be a merged appendage. But the Praetorians are right in their criticisms that it would be absurd to strive for equality for its own sake. But they forgot that hardly any sophisticated version of egalitarianism is doing so, or what to do so. It seems unsound when people get the hold of view that all human beings should be treated equally by virtue of the simple fact that the ideal of equality should be fulfilled for its own sake. Instead of demand of treating people morally equally may give some hints for equal distributions in other spheres. Also see Gospes 2001, but as Walters nicely puts, nearly such a sphere needs its own standard. Therefore, it might be right not to choose between the egalitarian or prioritarian's view, but to combine both accounts according to this. Gospes 2001 suggests that the proportional equality could be an basis for second discuss between egalitarian and prioritarian theories of justice. There's a close connection between justice and equality. Firstly, a conceptual connection, and secondly, a normative connection. First, equality is a necessary condition for the justice, since one is not able to give full explication on the notion of justice without taking formal and proportional equality. into the see Aristotle and the stipulation of absolute standards of justice. For instance, human dignity is something which could be incorporated, but it also should be clear that the stipulation of absolute standards is not enough. One should also take egalitarian model into an account. Second, in his famous example of a ruler who fries his subjects in oil and afterwards also fries himself. Frankina, 1962, pages 1 and 17, is stating that the ruler acts immorally, but not against the ideal of equality. This is the reason why formal and proportional justice from a necessary but not as sufficient condition. But the normative connection between justice and equality tries to solve this problem and acts as a shield against such as alike by providing a standard of normative constraints. And that's it. With that, I read the rest in part one, the moral egalitarianism. I'll give y'all this link. Oh shit. Let me fix that shit. Let me get this right. Yeah, there we go. Let me copy the link. I'm gonna put it in the chat. What's going on, Mace? Salute. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Because this is I'm gonna just get this in here. I know people don't want to get into this right quick. I'm gonna drop this off. Already mentioned that in the link. So I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. But yeah, that's the piece I read last time. And oh damn, it's been an hour. Good. That's a good solid hour. So I told you I can do this. I ain't got faith. Okay, let's put this out here real quick. I'm gonna get to the part. I read egalitarianism as its field on this one. Let's talk about the efficiencies, and we're gonna get into it. Get into it real quick. Let's see, my shit spread like wildfire. Let me see something real quick. All right. I think I could sit and read that. That other one I had to squint a little bit. God damn. I can sit back and relax. Stack up and match up. Let me stop. Oh, excuse me. All right. Okay. Efficiency, equality, and health, philosophical considerations, J.P. Keller, the Encyclopedia Health Economics, 2014. Okay. The value of equality revisit. Without the conducing Turkian style egalitarianism is false. Consider further the alternative opportunity of prioritarianism, i.e., the view of the social policies should tilt in favor of promoting substance life opportunities for those worse off. At least the extent of the consistent with the consistent in respecting individual choice and personal responsibility. Such a view, nothing intrinsically value uh, Disturbance equality. Considered now a objection to opportunity to prioritism when one looks outside the narrow sphere of personal prospects for pursuing worthwhile life opportunities, one encounters other spheres of life with which is equality seems to have intrinsically important to consider the spheres of political library and social mobility may many believe there is a presumption in favor of equality of access to political instances and equality of opportunity, whereby a no child's systematically disadvantaged in their life prospects because of their parents' social economic status. If this seems too appropriate to stress the intrinsic importance of equality, there's the political and social economic domains should be interpreted as supported by analogy for the intrinsic importance of equality with the narrower demand of personal life prospects. The first thing is to note that these spheres of political influences and social mobility are zero sum. So even if one's consistent priorities across three domains of personal life prospects, political influence, social mobility, equality will be the only distribution available for the last two domains. It's simply impossible to boost social groups share political influence or social mobility without making another worse off. This does not, of course, prove that equality is these realms have no intrinsic value, but it also might explain why would remain attracted to disturbtive equality in some spheres, even one's most fundamental ethical framework was priority. Further, if the inequalities is life prospect led inequality, political influence, unequal social mobility, and to significant improvements. In the rage of worthwhile life plans opens to those of the lower and middle income groups, then the trade off might be the worth it on the priority grounds. Of these considerations, the priority inequalities are not possible into local spheres of political library, social mobility, and there are maybe priorities reasons to tolerate inequalities in more local spheres and in local spheres improves conclusively the equality in these spheres is of no intrinsic importance. Indeed, there is no more way of conceiving the equality and importance that differs from the Turkian's approach that raises the possibility that egalitarian and prioritarian concerns are both valid, in fact, closely related. Yeah, we just talked about that with the other link. And there's a handbook of economics and art and culture. They use egalitarianism and things like that. There's a lot of restrictive reads, income distributions. So this is an interesting read. We talk about the health aspects, handbook. I want to see who's in here. What's going on, Nadia? Hell, Grace Skull. But let's see right here. Okay. This is Shalom A. Swartz, Handbook of the Art, 2014, West Europe. Okay, Western Europe culture is the highest of all regions of egalitarianism, intellectual anatomy, and harmony, and the lowest of a hierarchy, embeddedness, This profile holds even if for the controlling for national wealth. Thus, factors other than wealth, but it's a correlates the apparently influence the culture critically. But the culture profile is compatible with the presence in the region of democratic welfare states with especially high concern for improvement. Esther, 1994, although Western European countries shares a broad culture when compared with other world regions. There's a substantial culture variation with the region too. Greek culture is the least typical West Europe, higher on a mastery and lower intellectual anatomy. Egalitarian than the others. French and Swiss French cultures display relatively hierarchy orientation for West Europe together with a usual high affected intellectual anatomy. They are apparently retain somewhat hierarchical orientation despite the emphasis on anatomy. Detailed analyze such as variations is beyond the scope of this chapter, but cultural differences within regions are meaningful. The measures of cross cultural values, personal personality beliefs, Shi Shui, Wendy, WN, Juan. I'm back. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Okay, 2005 measures of personality and social psychological constructs to 2015. Okay, 2015, my fault. Divergent, discriminant, assertiveness, practice, negatively cohesive. Okay, egalitarianism, page 48. Okay, all these are pages and beliefs. Okay, individualism, collectivism, institutional. Yeah. There ain't that much to read. Okay. Cultural dimensions of cognition, a multiplex dynamic system of constraints and possibilities. Robert Spurpel, Rick Boykin, 1994. For a blind spot in American psychology. Okay, the fields of academic research, cross cultural psychology. The first came into the sharp focus in 1960, 1970. Barry uh, Dayson. Yeah, did I say that? Dayson. Yeah, Dayson, 1974. Cole and Scribner, 1974. Price and Williams, 1969. Spur Spell in 1976. Whiting, 1963. Yet, despite the widespread of articulation of its fundamental relevance to the theorists relevance to theories, human cognition and development, and the accumulation of good deal of empirical research, it is states that the remains somewhat marginal to mainstream Western psychology. Levine, 1989, has offered a thoughtful analysis of the reasons for this phenomenon with respect to human development. He suggests that the reasons for its occurrence to optionally, optimally assumption, which is also which tends to uh, eccentric, eccentrically to construct non-Western cultural forms of deviant, deviant and deficient to assumptions of and dangerous of development, which is tends to prioritize the biological over social factors and the explanation of development. And there is a construes of cultural variations of marginally all the assumptions of methodically rigor, which tends to uh, um, discount accounts of development that are grounded in naturalistic, ethnographic, or in interpretive. They study methods in favor of those that are documented through the methods of standardized testing of experimentation. Yeah, that's happened before when I was young. The optimally assumptions of the particular cultural practices favored by the middle class, formerly educated Anglo Americans with respects to the various psychological domains in cognitive functioning and in personal relationships, parenting, etc., is a normative standard against which is to rate all humans' development as a participate, if not trends to setters in the mainstream of contemporary Western culture. American psychologists shares of a preoccupation with a certain cultural theirs, including such as values and the competitive and individual and material discussed in sections the IIC above, as well as more concrete and social goals, such as the technological and bureaucratic efficiencies. Berger and Keller, 1973. There's theories and models and are selective, if not only because they are captured in the variance and observed behavior, but also because that the portion of the variance appears especially illuminating the empowering from the perspective, perspective an actor set and the actors engage in ongoing flow of socially organized activities. Sir Spell, 1990, taking the Garrett and structuration of contemporary Western industrialized society prior to these certain types of data intervention strategies over others. For example, test-based assessments of uh, competencies, competencies in schools based on presentation. Competencies. Yeah, damn, that's a mouthful. Information function, financially measurative forms of cognitive achievement and employment-based opportunities for economic priority. In recent years, the ideological supposition is cultural traits such as the culturative and needs for achievement and has contributed in McLeod, whatever. Okay. So it gets into these factors. So I ain't gonna read much. I mean, it talks about it. This is like the basic egalitarianism right here. So we're gonna get this piece right here for y'all. I'm gonna search for more as just giving you the basis. I'm just want to read arguments because I'm going to get into it right away. So I'm just going to see what's going on right here. Let's see who's in the chat. Degenerate, what's going on? TC Killer. What's going on, Information Man? Salute. But yeah. Let's see right quick. I'm gonna find something real quick. I'm gonna give it to y'all real quick. Okay. I'm gonna type in something real quick. Is egalitarian egalitarian is egalitarian. I'm gonna do something right quick. Examples. All right. And just type that in. So, okay. I'm going to get off full screen layout. Yeah. Move this out real quick. Stop that right quick. Let's go on, J Bones. Let's see right quick. Okay. Signs of egalitarian culture, titles. Honorifics are not usual except formal situations. First names are expected. Here's the next part. While education is highly regarded, self made individuals can move to the top level society. Equal rights and opportunities are codified under law. Let's read this right here. Cultural wizard. Okay, this is cultural wizard. RE3 RW.3.com. Cultural wizard. The LLC, they will say cross cultural awareness, how to tell a hierarchy from egalitarian culture. Okay, egalitarian culture. Okay. Let's go on, Laro. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about this a little bit. Let me make sure y'all see the screen when we get out of it. All right. Let's talk about it real quick. Hierarchical. Let's see. I can pull it close to me. Okay. Hierarchy dimension of cultural wizard in intercultural models is a potent one, as both Both influence the structure of society has a dramatic impact, or the workplace operates its spectral ranges from formerly hierarchical, high egalitarian, and is critical important for business spoon. Business person to be aware of the cultural differences in each of that spectrum. As a French American growing up in the US, I was taught that the respect is earned, not given. Therefore, learned to embrace an egalitarian ideology that continues to inform my intercultural relationships. When I spent a year, in Cote d'Ivoire, however, was immense, a very hierarchical culture, one in which education, occupation, agely stronger influence day to day interactions. One evening, my friends and I were riding home in a taxi. We wanted to started when our driver suddenly pumped the brakes, and then we locked up. We looked up and to see that the metal barricades had been placed in the middle of the street. A police officer walked over and then demanded our driver's ID. His tone was stern, but his body language relaxed and expectant. He knew that although the driver hadn't, but the committed traffic violation, the officer could have imposed his authority because he ranked higher in the hierarchical society. But the driver and submissive handed over his papers. Oh, hand over his papers. This will be a good story. The officer's status was garnered by his occupation. Ironically, foreign women in government positions, my friends, and I outranked the officer, which ultimately helped us out of messy situation. He apologized and we left without incident. Hierarchy plays a strong role in many cultures. So, to avoid misunderstandings, it's important to be aware of how people behave with respect to this cross cultural dimension. How do peers address one another? How do children address their parents, their teachers? Do people discuss equal rights legislation? People take the incentives on their own, or do they wait to be appointed? Here are 19 signposts to help improve your cross cultural awareness. That the hierarchy dimension, you'll learn how to recognize the between of hierarchical egalitarian cultures. Have the chances to take a cross cultural awareness quiz to test your learning. Okay, so we got signs of hierarchical culture, as you can tell. Y'all just give me 1 second. I'm gonna mute up. All right. The signs of hierarchical culture. Okay. The titles of honor honorifics are often used. This is so people know where they are comparative in status. Education is highly regarded. People, their education and level, professional accomplishments, leads in an authority figures, gives explicit directions, subordinates, wait to be given in instructions. Senior members have designated positions or in a room, enter in room first. But people tend to work on social those of the same status of themselves. But Indonesia, or would be inappropriate to invite or your housekeeper to do the same dinner with your family. And family names are important. It's potential status. Parents are elders, highly recommended. And people, number 8, people in ever dress and jewelry, brand names, etc. Okay, number 9, you got rituals, greeting, and communicating are very structured, especially with oldest generations, though that may shift depending on the peoples you are meeting. Okay. Signs of egalitarian culture. Okay. There's 10 of them. Titles, honorifics are not used except of formal situations. First names are expected. Number 2, right education is highly regarded. Self-made individuals can move to the top levels of society. Number 3, equal rights and opportunities are codified, codified under law. Number 4, diverse educational, social, economic backgrounds work socialized together. Number 5, status and authority are usually given though through actions and merit rather than family positions, age, or social economic status. Number 6, people tend to form on boast and unless. I mean, Euless. Boastfulness. Yeah, tends from our own boastfulness. My fault. Managers tend to be the inducive and act of coaches. Number 8, teamwork is common. Number 9, physical appearance or manner of dress is not necessarily a indicator of status. Number 10, people feel free. Yeah, people feel free to ask responsibly, and tasks are encouraged to take an incentive. Yeah. So that's they got 10 of these in egalitarian culture. They got 10s of the hierarchical culture. That's 9, close to 10. That's 19. So it's not 20 each. That's about right. So cross cultural awareness quiz. Egalitarian culture. Now, if you are aware, are the signs different from across of the hierarchical and the egalitarian culture to take to that you're an egalitarian culture? If quiz, simply note the numbers of the statements that indicate egalitarian culture, and then the scroll down to the answer, the key below. Correct answer are in boldface. You know you're in an egalitarian culture if okay. He said if you're in okay. He said number 1, you can't tell who's in charge by its clothes they're waging. And the leader is the biggest office. People speak in meetings. People, number 4 is people in first names. I'll say people in first names. That's 1. Diplomas are given. Degrees are promptly displayed. People don't want to be in assigned tasks. Informal language is typical. Yeah. I'll say number 4 would be the one. Yeah, this is like a cultural thing. I'll give this to y'all. Basically, egalitarianism is what it is, man. It talks about equality, things like that. We talk about moral, and it's not that much to talk about, in so many words. So, as expected, that's just brief. And I'm gonna get this one out to y'all. It's a link. So when you talk about egalitarianism, it's just in its purest state. Let me get back into the screen for a minute and talk to y'all for a minute. It's one of those things that when you talk about equality, you talk about things like that, and then this culture wizard is pretty good. So as I was saying, like we don't live that in type of society. I mean, I talk about the philosophy based aspects. I mean, let me get this real quick because I don't think. I don't think y'all understand libertarian, egalitarianism, and things like that. So a list of okay, political philosophy. Okay, I'll get this right quick. Talk about ethics, and then it's just what it is. But put this right quick. Okay, and that's just how. Y'all give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Yeah, I would say like basically you just have your reasons for it. So let's talk about egalitarianism, shall we? Basically, it is like the political doctrine that you see. Like I'm reading from the basic philosophies that we talked about. That's how I started in part one. If you watch part one, you understand what I'm talking about in the political world systems. And it mentions the philosophies like socialism, Marxism, communism, and anarchism. So we talked about anarchism twice. Socialism, Marxism, communism was in the political world systems stream. Y'all should watch that. I talked about all three of those, but anarchism twice. We had good discussions, and I talked one with Cerulean and things like that. Egalitarianism is a tricky one. There's several types. We talked about the moral today. We talked about the legal, the political aspects. There's no need. We already talked about that in part one. Luck of egalitarianism. We talked about that in one of the moral egalitarians links that we talked about. The gender egalitarianism was another one. That's no need. Racial, we discussed that probably part one in the Christian aspect. So it's not that much to talk about. Economics, we talked about that, socialism and things like that. So that's basically what it is. The types of it, if y'all don't know, um, I got this search. I'm gonna take this off screen. So, you know what I'm saying? If y'all wanna talk about it and things like that, I'm just gonna put this up here. Just let's go to the philosophy basics if y'all don't know. I'm just gonna put this in here because this is like an hour, so I'm gonna get some hours in to see what we talked about in so many words. So I'm just gonna get my feel into it. And let me see real quick. Let me see real quick. Yeah. Because it basically talks about what I'm talking about. So if you want to know that I've been practicing this for a while, so you know, oh dang, didn't give me a full layout. Okay. I guess that's but on the screen and things like that. I don't know if y'all can see that because they want a full layout. Hold on. Bring the screen up. Yeah, mute the audio. So As what I was saying, but yeah, we talk about every aspects of it, and I think sometimes people get confused and they just like, you know, it's real quick. Talk to y'all guys. Yeah, it's just one of those things I just put out there. Not really surprised at all, and I'm just gonna get into it because, when you get into this subject matter, people tend to act crazy and things like that. So, okay, keep my signal right. Okay, because I don't want nobody fucking this up. Okay, when I talk about this part, the economic, it talks about socialism and things like that. I know people don't want to get involved in it. So when I talk about it, I explain the aspects of it, and then they talk about the material aspects of it. What it says here, and then it says all the economic resources in terms, real power, wealth, and contributions and founding principle of various of socialism. Yeah, socialism is tricky. Some people say it's good or bad. It doesn't really matter. But if you mention egalitarianism, it just means equality and things like that. And then there's a moral. Some people don't care about the morals. They share, like the advisor said, the morals are the weak. Some people don't believe that. They think it from a moralistic standpoint. It's relative, really. Really, it's relative. You use them in war and things like that. And then you got your amoral type people. Now, legal egalitarianism is individual rights. That's just the individual, same weight and all that. And then there's the political aspect. Members of society equal standing terms, political power, or influence. It is a founding principle of most forms of democracy. So when you talk about democracy, some people think that's liberal. So it's saying liberal or conservative democracy. Actually, democracy is conservative itself. It's very conservative. It's not really liberal because liberal, you have to think about being republic, a nationalist, and things. That's more liberal mindset. If you really think about it in historical terms, some people try to say this is liberal, that's liberal. No, that's liberal mindset. It's the mindset what you believe. That's liberal. Conservative is mass production, not small production. They always want mass shit. I'm looking from a military aspect, not economics. Now, economics can vary, but when you talk about political stuff, you got to look at the military aspects from a bird's eye view. See, that's why I reference the conservatism streams that like liberal conservative, that means you're conservative. If you're conservative liberal, now if you're conservative in economics, yes. Policies, yes. But militarily, you're liberal. You're more utilitarian than you think. Now, some people say our military is conservative liberal. That they're basically saying they're utilitarian in that aspect. I don't understand why people say that, but if you notice when you talk about liberal politics, you got to mention the republic and nationalistic politics, and basically during nations and things like that, because they deal with the those principles in small government. That's a republic, and they think that's conservative. Technically, it's not. It's actually liberal because you're actually practicing liberal principles. Conservative principles is different. Everything is conserved to your own benefit, but it's not conserved. It's actually a group thing. That's conservatism and it's broad. When you talk about democracy, see, when you get into egalitarianism, they want all rights for everybody. You're conserving everybody's rights. That's like a total. See, when you deal with liberalism, they try to give you, they represent democracy, which they don't. It's a private interest. It's state. Talk about this many times. Egalitarianism is very tricky because there's many levels to it. You got your luck egalitarians and all that stuff, and equalities, and then you got this version luck. That's what I'm talking about. Deals with equality, basically. So yeah, this is kind of like an ideology and a theory that comes with these. And then anarchism, you got to mention. We mentioned this a lot twice. I don't know if I'm gonna do a part 3 on that, but basically, yeah, you got what you got. So if you want to look at this and read more, I can also put this in the chat as well. So apparently that's just what you got. So I'm gonna put this also in the chat too, in case people want to come through and talk. So, I got time and things like that. If anybody wants to have it with me or whatever. So, it's just what it is. So I see it for what it is. And it's just like, you have your things that it's just what it is. And in so many words, you get what you can get. And I mean, egalitarianism is what it is, man. Like you just got to get your things in order. So and that's what you're gonna have. So now, me thinking about it and looking at this topic, this is gonna be my last time talking about it because I ain't gonna do a part 3 to this or anything. This is kind of like a 2-time thing because I decided to do a part 2. I'm just waiting on someone that want to discuss. If he doesn't, I can cut it about 30 minutes or so, and we could talk about it in its purest form. So we talk about egalitarianism in its purest form. There's many versions of it. So what you see on the screen, that's what I talk about. I stick with the philosophy basics on what people use when I hear on panels and they use terms like that. Do the research. That's why I tell people do the research. That's why I research. I don't argue with people if they spouting off nonsense and things like that because I see it a lot. And I see channels that post things, and I search the shit out, dissect it, ask questions. Do you believe this and that? That's my whole exercises because I usually, it's my whole exercise to talk about it. So, because it's on my screen shares if I want to post it back up and things like that. So that's what I'm saying, but I'm gonna put this in motion. So I got it right here. I got the search. I'm ready. I'm gamed. But if you want to talk about it, just talk about it. It's all good. It's all good. You know, it's just like, y'all can say something in the chat, but it's just not really an open discussion or open panel here. Y'all just gonna listen to me talk for like, but the next hour I can shut it down because I can have 2 hours of this. This ain't nothing. Cause I'll be streaming tomorrow and we're gonna talk about the pill shit and things like that. So as what I'm saying is, what do you expect? Because I think a lot of times people don't talk about this one enough. Because I heard certain people say it in the chat about egalitarianism. Well, it means equality and things like that. We already know the actual definitions and things like that. So you got different levels of it in society. I mean, to me, America's not egalitarian. No, we're nowhere near that. I think we're more, I'll say, more fascistic because we got corporations and things like that. I don't believe we're egalitarian. No, I don't believe that. Last time we was probably egalitarian, it was so-called founded in the country. I will say it's innovation of it during the slave days in the 18th century. I'll say it like that, in the chattel slavery days. And then afterwards, that was it. Besides that, that's just what it was. You know what I'm saying? That's just my thoughts. Okay. That's my viewpoints of looking at it from a integral perspective of looking at it. That's just one thing. If you want to uh see that, that's just what it is. I mean, people are busy doing real things, and that's what you have to look at, and then that's how you understand egalitarianism in its purest form. So, like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed the links I put out, and like I said, this is one of the topics I've always wanted to discuss, and I think we're gonna draw this down, and people have their ways of looking at it. Right? That's just what it is. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to be discussed. So I know some people want me to drop the link and things like that, but I'm cool on that because I'll do that tomorrow. We'll talk about the pill stuff and what I write down. Have we outgrown it? I'm just saying it's dumb at this point. And I know some people that just don't want to discuss that, but that's okay. That's all good. Good with me because I look at it from various perspectives. But since I ain't got nothing to search on, I'm good on egalitarianism on this part. But yeah, man, like it's not that much I can give y'all. I mean, I can go all day with it. So I got my philosophy basics on it, and I'm just gonna put this in the back burner. Yeah, keep that little source. Communitarianism. Never heard of such. You know what? You know what? Communitarianism. Communitarianism. I've never heard of this. We're gonna talk about that. That's a future stream, by the way. That's a future stream, by the way. Communitarianism. That is a future stream. And the reason I'm saying that's a future stream, we're going to talk about it in its purest form. That's a heads up, y'all. Since we're going to talk about it, I don't know what folder I'm going to put it in. I'm going to create me one. Go new folder. Okay. Let's see. Communitarianism folder. I want to see something real quick. Oh, shit. Okay. Okay. We're gonna get in this topic. It's 20th century, right? It's called communitarianism, right? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. That's a future another philosophy stream, right? Communitarianism. I like what it says right here. Okay. Okay. Y'all got me something. And there's major doctrines. Some people try to tell me about feminism, which I'm not going to talk about. Damn major doctrines. We damn near cover all of them. Feminism, I will not cover. That's like, I don't talk about it as much. I mean, that's been covered by, of course, a manosphere, but that's a whole nother story. I'm not gonna argue with fools on this shit. Messing with that bullshit. I got it right here, but it's irrelevant. I'm not gonna talk about that. It's got various forms. Y'all can have links for yourself, but I'm not gonna waste my energy on that. But as what I'm saying, man, yeah, these are one of the fews that I look at. So yeah, communitarianism, yeah, that's gonna be talked about. That's gonna be talked about. And I think that is a subject to tackle. That is a subject to tackle. I want to tackle that. And the reason I'm going to tackle it is because that's one of the ones I will probably be interested in, and it correlates what I'm saying. And then when you talk about the contractionism, that's separate. That's separate. I ain't into that. And then it gets into totalitarian and things like that. Thomas Hughes and all that 17th century shit. We're going to 20th century on this, goddamn it. So the two I'm not going to cover is contractionism and feminism. I'm not. I'm just going to deal with the ones I want to deal with. So yeah, it is what it is. So, I got it right here. I'm just going to look at it again. Yeah, I'm just going to put it right here. But that's a future stream for another time. So since we're going to talk about egalitarianism, and I know people are watching and doing things like that. So we're talking about egalitarianism tonight. Yeah, it means equality and things like that. And I really enjoyed this stream. I really enjoyed this topic, and I felt like it needed to be said. And I'm like, this is part 2 and things like that. And it's one of those streams you just like, you can have it, right? That's one of the reasons that you can see that you can talk about this. Yeah, it talks about equality, it talks about the moral aspects, the political aspects of it. It's cool, but it needs to be discussed more in certain spaces and things like that. So if you talk about politics, you add those things because people spout out this word a lot, but don't break down in this molecule. You know what I mean? Because what I just did tonight and today, I just felt like this need to be discussed. So like I said, and I say it again, it's one of those streams that you just want to get down to it. And I'm just like going, but if that's what it is, that's just somebody. But I'm just saying, but yeah, it needs to be discussed what's going on in the chat room. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's overdone. That's why I'm the only person that ain't gonna talk about that. I can destroy you with facts and fly information. I can do that in the open discussion. It's a waste. And contractionism, I'm not going to do that one either because that's probably connection to that. And they'll shut up. I'll kill them with facts on the philosophy basics. And that's it. So I pull information. That's what I will do. But for this one, these are important. This is like my topic based on Wednesdays. So communitarianism is a future stream. Be on the lookout for this month. I can talk about it next month. So I got something. So I'm gonna talk about anarchism. Not anarchism, fascism part 2. My fault. Fascism part 2. Be on the lookout for that. Yeah, Egalitarianism II is in the books, folks. It talks about is um is in the making. So I appreciate y'all coming through. Psycho, appreciate you coming through. Laro, Nadia, who else came through? J Bones, Information Man. Appreciated Mike for coming through. Mike Matrop the fourth. Degenerate the Slayer, appreciate you coming through. James, okay, appreciate you. Tyrone, TC Killer, Mace, appreciate you coming through. Shar, appreciate you for coming through. I am listening. And that's about it, folks. So with that, I'm gonna say peace and shalom. Oh hell, Great Skull, and I'm out.